Yo, what's going on with y'all? It's your boy NeohXO, and today I'm going to be talking about some Black Clover, and I want to talk about the character Finral from Black Clover. I feel like he's a very slept on character, and I just want to give him his own video and give him like some spotlight and just kind of say what I think of the character. If you like Black Clover videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I provide a lot of those videos here. So without further ado, cue the intro. So Finral, the first time that we're introduced to Finral was during the Magic Knight's entrance exam, and we see Finral on the side of Captain Yami. At the time, we didn't really know who Finral was, but we know that he would grow to be a prominent character in the series because he's next to the captain of the Black Bulls. Now, he didn't really do a lot during the Magic Knight's entrance exam, which makes sense because he wasn't participating at that time, and that plays a role into his character because obviously he was already a member of the Black Bulls and Captain Yami was there trying to recruit more members. So this right here makes him a senpai to Asta and Noelle, and I'm mentioning that because he does mention it a lot. He always mentions how he should get more respect from the Black Bulls, which the Black Bulls do respect him. The Black Bulls, in my opinion, they all respect each other. They're just very personality driven, so you're not gonna get them all acting and behaving in a manner such as the Golden Dawn would behave. Their behavior is more open to whatever they feel like. So just because Finral's their senpai doesn't mean they always treat him as some other characters would treat their senpai. And this is nothing to the fault of Finral. It's more just the way that the characters in the Black Bulls are. You guys definitely know what I mean if you've watched a considerable amount of Black Clover, or any amount at all. You'll know exactly what I mean. For example, Asta talks to the Wizard King Julius sometimes in a non-formal way. It's just the way their characters are. But seeing Finral at the side of Captain Yami during the Magic Knight's entrance exam sets a precedent for us going forward into the series. And the precedent is we often see Finral attached to Captain Yami in some way. Now, Captain Yami kind of plays this off as a joke, and it seems like a lot of people kind of play Finral off as a joke and a gag character, which is nothing wrong with that. We need characters to make us laugh, and Finral, whenever he's on screen, he kind of is often used as a kind of humor device, which nothing is wrong with that. As for his personality, honestly, I feel like if he was in my life, I feel like we would make good friends. He's just a cool guy, honestly, and that's kind of what sets him back at times. The fact that he's such a sweet guy and such a nice guy. Like, for example, he often goes after women who don't want him, but he's such a sweetheart that he just pursues a lot of women, and typically speaking, they don't really want him. Some advice to Finral: stop being so nice to these people who you don't know and maybe get to know them a little better. But he is in fact trying to actually change this behavior. Finral that we have now is not the same Finral that we had at the beginning of the series, and I doubt it's going to be the Finral that we get at the end of the series. He definitely has shown a lot of character progression. A physical trait on him that symbolizes his character progression would be him changing his hair color to have some green in it, and this is kind of a physical representation of his change. Now, it's easier to see it than it is to feel it, so I think that's why he wanted to go ahead and do something a little more drastic than just saying it. It's kind of like he can say it, but him changing his hair color is him putting it out into the world that he's a changed person, or at least he's attempting to change, because at moments you can definitely tell that he's made a lot of progress, and sometimes it seems like he's going backwards. For example, he definitely knows who he wants to marry, and he wants to marry Finesse, but the thing about Finesse is he's in competition with his younger brother Langris. Now, speaking on Langris definitely served a purpose in making Finral into the person that he is today. For example, Langris was about to kill him, which is kind of crazy to say because Langris and Finral are brothers. So the fact that Langris tried to kill him and Finral still didn't try to kill Langris says a lot about Finral's character. because Finral almost died because he didn't want to hurt his little brother, whereas his little brother was willing to kill Finral, and Finral took the L in that battle. But I feel like us as an audience definitely say that we were more on Finral's side in the Langris versus Finral conflict, because we see the Black Bulls pull up on Langris and we was like, yeah, we're gonna be on Finral's side. Even though he did lose the match, we were still on his side. I think Finral's definitely one of those characters who's a lot different from the other Magic Knights. For example, he doesn't really want to fight. If Finral can go without fighting, I think that he would often choose the route with the less violence and the less conflict. I think honestly, he's the type of guy to just enjoy hanging out with friends and not really worrying about fighting the next big threat. He's more of a normal guy. He's just in the Magic Knights, and I think that's very relatable for a lot of people, to have a guy who's just wanting to hang out with some girls and maybe go on a date, or maybe eat some food, or maybe just hang out and not do anything, rather than going into a dangerous dungeon, possibly dying, and just getting a thrill out of that, such as someone like Luck, who is less relatable in a realistic sense than Finral. Finral is one of those characters who's a lot more realistic, because I think that most people who are reading the manga definitely would not want to be placed into situations that some of the other characters are placed in. Like, whenever Finral went to the Seabed Temple, he actually did not want none of the smoke, but ultimately he had to build up the courage to actually fight in that battle, because if not, he was going to lose his squad mates. And that leads me to talk about something that a lot of people think of Finral. A lot of people think that Finral is a coward, and I see where they're coming from. I definitely see where they're coming from. Finral often needs a push that some of the other characters do not. For example, if Asta sees something wrong, he's just gonna rush in without thinking. But Finral, if he sees something wrong and dangerous, he might just possibly try to avoid it instead of running into it face first. I honestly think that Finral still has a lot of development to take place throughout the series, and since I'm expecting the series to be over 500 chapters long, I definitely see him getting some more attention and some more development. If Finral honestly reaches his full potential, I can definitely see him becoming a vice captain, and this would make sense considering his little brother was able to become a vice captain. So it makes sense, it runs in his family. Definitely if his little brother can do it, I say that Finral has a good chance of being able to do that, especially since Captain Yami uses Finral as his ride often. So he's had a lot of time to bond with Captain Yami and a lot of time to learn from Captain Yami. Plus, he's one of the members of the Black Bulls who have been a member for the longest time. So it makes sense if one day he gets promoted to vice captain, that would be something that fits him, in my opinion. Not saying that it's going to happen, but I say that with his character and what he's been through and with his background, I can see him becoming a vice captain maybe one day. So the last thing I guess I'll touch on really briefly is his power, and I'm not gonna say that he's one of the strongest characters in the series, but I do think he has a lot more potential. He does have a lot more potential that he's just not tapping into at this current moment. Now, I hope we do get to see more, unless Langris is just going to hold the title of the stronger brother forever. But I would like to see them compete a little more, like kind of how Yuno and Asta are. How sometimes Yuno is stronger than Asta at certain points, and sometimes Asta is stronger than Yuno at certain points. I would like to see Finral become stronger than Langris at certain points. However, I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But regardless, I would like to see Finral work on more attack spells. But if not, it's perfectly fine, because Finral, his personality is fit to be a support role. So as long as he works on support role in utilities and uses, I think he's going to be straight as a Magic Knight. Now, Nock did tell him that he needs to stop letting women get in the way of his missions and get in the way of his mindset, and I think he needs to follow Nock on that one, and I think that he's definitely trying to do so. So with that being said, that's pretty much all I have to talk about Finral in this video. Let me know what you guys think about Finral in the comment section below, and as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. As always, it's been your boy NeohXO, and I'm out.